So we'll talk about future of the tug. Iron Viz, we'll do a little recap and revote on that, and then and then that's it. Closing, kind of talk about the next meeting a little bit. With that, really quick, for those of you who don't know me, since I'm the non-Tableau, non-Salesforce Tableau person, my background, I've played with Tableau since I think version 7. I think I installed Tableau Server version 7.0 at my previous company. I've been playing with it ever since. Got a BA background for a long time, BI background for a long time, BI reporting, data science, and all that, and that's fine. Where can you find us? You've already found us, so you know where you can find us, but LinkedIn is the main place where we'll post any kind of communications. There is also this link. Yeah, so this is the LinkedIn page, right? And anytime we have a meeting, we're going to post about it over here. But there is also this Tableau community page. We go there. Say, is it actually going to find us or not? So there is a page there that obviously hasn't been being updated, but we should decide if we want to use this page or not. Honestly, I don't think there's ever been a lot of uptick in this, but we'll talk about that in the next part of the meeting. But there is this community link there, and we'll see about that. In the meantime, why don't we have Jeff start us off with some TC22 info, and we'll get to the user group stuff after that.
Perfect. Sounds good, Alex. I will take screen from you while I'm doing that. You've got me beat. Yep. Version 7. I started on version 9.3, and I felt like that was quite a long time ago. We've come such a long way. But thank you for having me, Alex. Thank you for organizing this. I know we're a bit of a smaller group today, so we can keep things conversational. If you see something, you've got a question, put it into the chat. I think you guys should all see the little chat function. You can even take yourself off mute and ask a question. I think we're, again, small enough that we could keep it, nice and casual today, which I actually kind of prefer that kind of forum anyway. My name's Jess Lella. I am a solution engineer here at Tableau. I'm in the healthcare and life sciences industry. And I've been at Tableau for, almost 6 years now. Part of my role at the company is to help customers implement Tableau, do enablement like this, and really just make sure that everyone's using the products well and they're happy. And this is actually one of my favorite sessions to do is what's new and what's coming types of presentations. So I'm going to walk you through what was debuted at TC, so you can get an idea of what's coming, what's a little further down the roadmap, what's more immediate, and then we are going to do a little Iron Viz after Alex does his session. Now, I'd love to know if anybody went to TC. You can put that in the chat. Let us know if you made it virtual or in person. I'm always curious to see if anybody here did end up making it to TC. And if anybody has, joined this tug in the last few sessions, it probably feels like we were just talking about this. They're not crazy. We did move when we do conference. So now we are doing conference in May. Historically, it had always been mid to late November. So it was really only 6 months ago that we had Tableau conference. So if you went to conference or you joined this tug in November, you're not wrong if you're feeling like you're hearing the same concepts. There is going to be some redundancy there, but I'll point out what was kind of net new in this conference and what was a theme that we heard from last year in November. So of course, Tableau conference, we always have some great keynotes. We have a ton of hands-on training sessions, virtual sessions, both live, in person, and just a ton of great networking. If anybody hasn't been to TC, I'd strongly suggest maybe next year, think about it, maybe socialize it. It's always a great time. It's always something that we look forward to every year as a company. And there's usually some main top of mind themes each year. So this year, Tableau Cloud was a big theme. Data stories, the Tableau Exchange. I'll be showing you all of that as we go, but just keep that in mind. as we move along today. So I always like to explain what we see at TC. You see a real mix of feature and functionality. So you'll see things that are what we consider in dev or on the roadmap. So this is very much the product team is literally developing it as we speak, but they'll have some builds that are demoable. Those are usually things we can't really demo as someone in my position, but I have a little secret for you guys. I got my hands on a dev build for one of the features you'll see when we do the demos. And then we'll also show things that are in alpha. So this is in software terms, like about a release or two out. So that could be anywhere as 4 months to 12 months out. Usually some select customers are already piloting or testing these features. And then we'll have beta. And beta is one release away. So right now, 22.2 is in beta. It's going to release very, very soon. These features are things that customers can actually start testing out themselves. You can join our developer program and get your hands on these beta features before it releases and goes GA, which is the last category here. So it's generally available. That means it's out, it's released, it's available to everyone. And we'll throw in some GA features in Tableau Conference as well. Just want to make a little note, because it's a new kind of release cycle. So Tableau Desktop is going to remain quarterly. Tableau Cloud, which we'll get to, is going to remain quarterly, but Tableau Server is going to be now Q1 and Q3 releases. So now it's bi-yearly. So it's a little bit of a change. So just be aware of that. Prep is going to continue to be monthly. All right, so this is the space we can play in today with demos. Unfortunately, some of the more dev, alpha, it's more talking points, but we will cover quite a bit today. Of course, I have to always remind you about the forward-looking statement, which means you're going to see some things that are future features and functionality. Make sure you make all your purchasing decisions based on products that are currently available. Okay, so what is new and what's coming this year? Okay, so as promised, one of the main themes was Tableau Cloud. This is formerly known as Tableau Online. I would imagine some of you here are already using Tableau Cloud and you just may not even know it yet. This is our fully hosted SaaS software as a service solution. So what that means is when you're viewing, consuming, creating content on Tableau Server, this is what's going on behind the scenes. So if you're not really on the admin side of the house, you probably wouldn't even know the difference. But if you are somebody who's behind the scenes dealing with hardware, dealing with upgrades, maintenance, just architecture in general, you know what I'm talking about. And Tableau Cloud will make your life a lot easier because we handle all of that for you. So you don't need to think about testing upgrades, what happens if your server goes down, what if there's some again, topology issue or hardware issue? We deal with that all for you. And that is being renamed, rebranded as Tableau Cloud. Again, you're probably still going to hear some residual Tableau Online. It's the same thing. This is just part of our marketing push to rebrand as Tableau Cloud. With that, there are some updates here. So one of the biggest gotchas about Tableau Cloud was it was one site. So you would have one site for everyone. And if people wanted to segment their content or groups or entities, the approach was, okay, we'll create a new project. Well, some users were like, no, we like having sites. Well, soon we have multi-sites. So this is being piloted right now. So there's some, licensing and costs. We could talk about that at the end, but just be aware that that is top of mind for Tableau Cloud. Another big kind of gotcha here as well is being able to embed Tableau Cloud Vizzes, a portal, a website, wherever it may be. This was historically a bit of a problem here because of the authentication. So we're working on having a solution there, very similar to that guest access. So if anyone has ever seen a Tableau dashboard embedded in a website, for example, there's a very, very likely chance they're using this guest username. That wasn't an option with Tableau Cloud. So we're working on that. Not out yet, but it's something that we are very much considering into the future releases of Tableau Cloud. Also in the same vein, we have an advanced management for Tableau Cloud. And this is going to be those admin views, admin insights. You can start to understand usage, what are people looking at, what's slow, what's being highly adopted, who are the power users, all of those insights that as a Tableau admin you want to know about. And we're also bringing in extract encryption, which is also known as bring your own key. So you can rotate that key. It's another layer of security. That's, of course, with data and multi-tenancy, we hear this all the time, security concerns. That's just another layer that we're adding. I'm just going to check the chat. Oh, yeah, I was going to take a pause anyway. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we were seeing your Zoom management bar on top of all your vises.
Okay. I don't think you missed much, but I'll just make sure. There, it's gone now, I think.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for letting me know. I didn't even realize that. So yeah, you guys didn't miss too much, just the headers. Just gonna look at the chat real quick. Yeah, so it looks like some people, yeah, you were there virtually, Alex. I'd love to hear what you liked. We'll talk about that at the end. All right, another big concept, and this was also debuted in November, is the Tableau Exchange. The Tableau Exchange, let's actually go ahead and go to it because that will make a lot more sense, is this new place where we are hosting dashboard extensions, connectors, accelerators. So let's first talk about extensions. So extensions themselves are not new. These have been out since 2018, early 2018. But previously, they had their own website. It was a little hard to find. Now we are, sorry, I'm on connectors, now I'm on extensions. So now we have this consolidated all in one place, and it's really easy to find the extensions you care about. So some really popular ones that I hear about often is being able to write back to your database from Tableau Viz, being able to do advanced analytics. So Einstein Discovery, I'm sure some of you have heard about that. We talk about that a lot at TC. That's brought in with an extension as well. And connectors. If you have data that is not a native connector, you can sometimes find the connector here. Again, not always, but this is continuing to build. So I'm constantly coming here and I'm seeing more and more connectors, more and more extensions being added quite frequently. What I really want to talk about is this concept of accelerators. You can also think about these as templates, dashboard templates. So entirely free. We acquired a company last year that had all these pre-built templates, and they are really well-designed, built dashboards by industry, by use case. Let's actually take a look at one. And the templates will tell you what you need, what key business questions they answer, what KPIs. And what's really quite cool about this is that it's free. And we'll give it a second to load. You do have to put in your own data. That's the tricky part, which I will talk about in just a second here. But you can get an idea of what this dashboard looks like once you put your own data into it. Right now, this is populated with dummy data. So I just simply come here, download it. You do have to sign in. So you do need a Tableau account. I'm already signed in. So that did not prompt me to authenticate. And pop this open. Give it a second. And we'll have a Tableau dashboard that you can use. I will say though, this is not as simple as, hey, here's a dashboard. I'm just going to replace the data set and it works. There is some level of effort required here. So I don't want to sugarcoat that part. It is a very robust dashboard with some decently complex data. I'll show you that. So there's a lot of data here. So I do kind of let people know that there is a data effort. There typically always is a level of data effort with anything, as many of us know. But if you have the corresponding fields, in this case, item shipped, the country, you rename them to match the template. You could theoretically just come in and replace the data source and have this template working with your data. That is the ideal state. And there's 100 plus now to choose from. I'll put this link in the chat at the end. Now, this is a big theme that came up a lot at conference in May and also conference in November. So that's a Tableau Exchange. I will drop this into the chat now so I don't forget. Definitely worth taking a look. If this is of interest, we always do recommend partners. We've got a huge partner landscape. They can definitely help you with this if you want to get these accelerators in playing with your own data. Cool. Let's move on. Okay, this was a big theme as well, which was data stories. So what are they? So data stories kind of give you that so what in a dashboard. They explain what you're seeing, and it's going to come right in the product. It's not going to be an extra cost. Caveat though, this is for Tableau Cloud only 22.2. So the release that's dropping in the next, I want to say few days or weeks, but very, very soon. So if you have a server deployment that is on premise or hosted, for example, on AWS, you're going to have to wait a little bit. Sorry about that, but this is Tableau Cloud only in the next release. But this is actually something I can demo. So you will see this live in just a moment here. What's great with stories is it's not just text, it's also interactive with your dashboard. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to go to a dashboard here. And you're just going to see it right from the beginning. And everything should look familiar. A dashboard looking at product sales and profit. But what is going to be different is, get full screen here, is this. This is data stories. So what data stories does is it takes a sheet, you define a sheet, and then you ask data stories to create a story or an explanation in simple language. So what we're looking at here, for example, is look at these various product types. Again, this is med tech devices, and it will tell you, okay, here's our total sales. It will detect that sales have decreased in the most recent period. It's driven by surgical supplies, which is down 65%. That's quite a lot. I'm not going to read it all for you guys. I think we can see it. We also have some nice color coding as well. The lasers have decreased for profit consecutively in the last 4 periods. That's kind of something that I'd be concerned with. What's also interesting is data stories can surface relationships. So it's detected that, oddly enough, medical furniture and wound care seem to have a positive correlation. Maybe they're complementary. We structure our deals differently because we see a lot of correlation there. So maybe we want to drill in even more. Now you'll notice the story is going to update. So it's rewriting the story as I select in my dashboard. So now we're filtering to cleaning agents. And maybe I want to go a little deeper and look at product stories. So it's more specific. So you can really drill in and dive into what this dashboard is telling you. I can even select on an individual mark in the dashboard. You can even select in from the story itself and drill in. So we have a lot of interest here. There was a lot of buzz about data stories. This is just one quick example, but because we're a small group and we have time, I will show you how you get this into a dashboard. So if you are an explorer or creator, it is a dashboard object. So right here, let's let this load. Data stories. So you're going to see it under those objects. And it's just as simple as dragging it in and then defining how we want the story to behave. So here's where you might have a little bit of work. Again, it's not just you put it on and boom, it works. There's a little bit of customization you might want to do. I'm just going to do a very, very easy example here, just on this category, this category of products and profit ratio. And we'll say next, we'll say done. And I'll make this so we can see it. Again, this is just so you guys can get a little preview of how this works. And here we have our story. Again, if I was putting this into production, I'd spend a little time. There's a lot more you can do here in data stories. We could spend a whole next 30 minutes just talking about data stories, but just to give you a little preview of what else is happening under the hood, you can choose the verbosity. Can users change it? How far do you want to drill in? You can start customizing things. Obviously, an entity would be a product. I could clean up my labels. You know, I don't want that aggregation, for example. And then you could go even deeper into the characteristics. You know, how do we define a metric? So this is one of my favorites. You can assign meaning. So a high profit ratio, that's good. We would look at this as an average. So you can really start, and this will be a percentage. So you can really start to see how this can come to life, how you can customize it and really derive value out of dashboards. One of the key drivers when we were bringing data stories to all of you is sometimes you look at a dashboard and you don't always know what it's saying, or you don't always see that outlier. You don't always see what that correlation is, you know, between products, for example. And data stories will give you that explanation. What we also see that's a nice way of doing this is, hey, maybe you don't want it front and center the way I have it here. Maybe it's just a quick show high, and users can see it if they want. They can collapse it if they don't want it. So we can really give you the option of how you want to deliver this. Again, this is 22.2 for Tableau Cloud only. I know it's not for everyone just yet, but we have a lot of anticipation around data stories, and hopefully it's something you guys are excited about as well. Thanks, Alice. The verbosity or verbosity? I think verbosity setting is a fun one. And it is nice that the end user can also make that selection on the front end. One other little thing, that's what Alex is talking about. So you can go high, medium, low. Another thing that I like here is you can also copy the text. So I was playing around with some different scenarios of kind of finding an insight and then copying it over to a comment, for example. So we are trying to make this as integrated as possible with all the other features and functionality in the server. All right, so that is data stories. Definitely a top of mind feature, something that we demoed rather extensively at TC, and there was a lot of excitement here. All right, let's move on. Okay, Salesforce actions in Tableau. So I'll first say that in November, I felt like we talked about this a bit more. It was a little more, it was mentioned, but we didn't go deep in May. And what Salesforce actions in Tableau is it's being able to execute an action that is tied to a Salesforce flow directly in Tableau. So what that means is things like, I want to escalate a case, I want to send an email, I want to add this person to a marketing campaign. You, in the future, will be able to do that from a Tableau dashboard. This is built off extensions that we just mentioned. And where I really see the power here is Tableau's so great about finding that insight, finding that outlier, finding that thing that you want to take action on. But then to actually do that action, you typically have to kind of swivel chair out into another system, or you need to get out of that workflow. So what this aims to do is just keep it a seamless, connected experience. So I'm pretty excited about this. I don't have an updated ETA other than it's in the works. It is something that we are prioritizing. So I don't have anything too new here since November, but if you haven't heard about it, just be aware that this is on the radar, and I'm hoping to see this come out soon, but we'll see. Okay, this was actually one of my favorites, the data orientation pane. The reason I liked this is because this was new. We did not see this in November, so this was a little bit of a surprise at the end of the keynote. And what the data orientation pane is it's this flush right data orientation. It has description about the dashboard. If you have a video, maybe it's a dashboard that you want to give your users a little more direction. Here's how you use it. You could link to a video. I know personally, I'm really excited for that because I'm constantly building demos for my team, and I'll make the video and I'll say, hey, it's here. Soon I'll be able to just do that right in the data orientation pane. You'll be able to see the data. And then also, which is really nice, is having those outliers jump out immediately. So we can see that right here, outlier marks found. What I also like about this is one of those features that it's just going to work. I think as Tableau gets more sophisticated. We have these great features, but they require a little bit of effort or skill or tweaking. And this is one of those features that, as far as my understanding, it's going to just come up. You're not going to really need to do much. And that's nice for the end user, to have something that just is there for you. You didn't really need to do much extra work to make it happen. One thing that I think this will also help us not avoid, but the way we're typically doing dashboard descriptions is you put a nice little information button, which there's a little trick to that. You put the info in the tooltip. And with this, we might not really need to do that anymore. So I'm excited about this data orientation pane. And like I said, this was something that I didn't see in November that was entirely new in May. Okay, model builder and scenario planner. So if you joined us in November, you definitely saw a sneak peek of this as well. And I'm sorry, my graphic is very fuzzy, but don't worry, because I can show you a little something live today. Now, what Model Builder is it's bringing those Einstein Discovery machine learning models that you put into Tableau. I think some of us have seen that before, but the issue today is it's a little disconnected. You have to create the models, load the data in a Salesforce org, not in Tableau. So again, it's a little bit disconnected there. What Model Builder is going to do is you're going to be able to create those machine learning models directly in Tableau server off of published data sources. So now you're not going to leave Tableau. It's all going to be streamlined in one place, and you can create those predictions and those recommendations right in Tableau. And if you haven't seen Einstein Discovery, what I'm talking about is think about anything in your organization that you'd like to have more foresight into. Customer churn, predicted delivery time, on-time delivery. All of those things could be things that you might want to predict and you might want to bring into Tableau dashboards. Well, soon we'll be able to do that all in Tableau, and we'll guide you through the process. So let's actually take a look at that. And again, we are now dealing with very much in development builds, so bear with me if something does not go right. Okay, so this is what a very early view of this would look like. So we'd find our data source. So published data sources on our server. Let's do hotel coffee sales. I'll go ahead, I'll connect to it. And then we'll be in a view that's, should look familiar if anyone's used Tableau Prep. We'll choose our target. So this is, what's the outcome field? So we want to see coffee sales. We want to predict, we want to increase our sales at this hotel. So then I say, okay, well, what makes a difference? What is this model detecting as having a high correlation? Well, obviously, occupied rooms, the more people consuming coffee, which again, number of guests, total guests. Is there a conference? Clearly, people are working, they need coffee, that makes sense. But then there's some things that the model is detecting as not having a high correlation, like rental cars and wedding venues. So we can skip that part. We can decide what kind of algorithm we want. We'll keep a linear model, and we want to maximize sales. So we'll move on to the next step. And now we're training the model. This part can take a couple seconds, maybe up to a minute even. But you'll see as I'm moving through this, it's a very streamlined experience. I'm going from one step to the next. Even if I know nothing about data science, I can start my process here because Model Builder is really guiding me through it. So look at this a second. We'll see if it wants to create it. If it takes a while, we'll just move on. But then the next steps would be I'd evaluate the model results. How accurate is it? We'll provide a bunch of matrices and evaluation thresholds so you can determine, did I train my model well? Is this accurate? Is this something I can now deploy? I'll give this a second. So it's now creating the model. Oh yeah, Alex likes Model Builder. Is it included? Yeah, so licensing, I don't want to get into any hot water determining the licensing, but currently the way Einstein Discovery and Tableau works is that yes, there is a licensing implication. How is that going to work for Model Builder? I'm just going to keep that as let's see what transpires once this is closer to GA. Okay, well, I think we get the idea. Close enough. It's taken a little longer. So let's move on. On the same vein of model builder, you'll also have the option to do scenario planning. So think about this like what if scenarios. This is also built off predictions. So if you wanted to assess, well, let's take a really easy one as an example, the likelihood something will get delivered on time, a product, a vaccine. Well, what if I use a different freight forwarder? What if it's raining? What if my distance is reduced because I use a different freight forwarder? And then we can see the impact of making those changes, which would help us make different, more intelligent decisions. So that's going to be part of the model builder, the Einstein Discovery integration. So check that out. Be on the lookout for that. That is very much in the works for our development team. Okay, some data updates. So if you are on the data side of the house, we have some updates for you. We now have the concept, well, not now, in development, we have the concept of shared dimensions. So you can take multiple tables, relate them together off multiple dimensions, and really create that one data model for your team. So we're able to just get a little more complex and customized for your needs. No ETA on that, but it is in the works along with Web Data Connector 3.0. So now it is run locally, so you don't need that URL right now. If you wanted to connect to Twitter data or Facebook, you have to put in the URL, and then you'd have to authenticate. Now you will not now, soon, I keep saying now, soon, with Web Data Connector 3.0, you simply just authenticate. You log in, you allow, and you see the data that you're allowed to see. We also have table extensions. What this means is we can now bring those R and Python scripts soon in our roadmap right into your data source. So they'll update live just like any other data source. The way you have to do this now, if you want to bring in that R or Python scripts, is you can, of course, connect to the file, or you bring it in as a calculated field. And that works. But if you are a very competent coder or data engineer, this is going to make your life a lot easier to just put it right into the data source, have it fully integrated and updating as well. And we have Tableau prep updates. This is a little lighter, I'll be honest, but we did debut a few new features that are in the roadmap. One of those is being able to automatically insert a row number. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do that now. It takes a little bit of effort with a calculation. We'll just have this be built in, and also the ability to fill in nulls. So that's going to be a new clean step, rather than having to do a calc like an if null or something like that with some logic. It will be in the clean step. And then what's also pretty exciting is what we're calling multi-row calculations. I also think of them as table calcs in prep. So think about those calcs like moving averages or running sums. You can kind of see that here. That will be a built-in dialogue to guide you through that process. Historically, doing this in prep, it can get a little funny. So we're going to make that easier for you. Okay, so that is about all the functionality that I wanted to go through today that was shown at TC. So I'd love to hear what you all are most excited about. I was thinking we'd do a little poll, but I know we are a small group, so I don't know if we really need to go here. If you do want to go to menti.com, put in this code, we could vote, or you could save yourself the effort, just drop it into the chat or take yourself off mute. And we could have a quick little chat about what you saw that was exciting, maybe something you've been anticipating, you saw something you had no idea was in the works that you are excited about. We'd love to hear. So storytelling, yes, that was definitely exciting. People are very excited about that. Thanks, Candy. Maybe no poll, because there's not very many of us. I'll tell you what I'm pretty excited about. Like I said, it was a simple one, but I really liked that data orientation pane. Like I mentioned, I love that it's just going to work. You don't need to have really an extra skill set or training. It's just going to be there, and I think it's an immediate value add. Ooh, data updates, Python scripts. Yeah, we can actually put this in. Let's see what people are saying. Yeah, model builder, yeah, all great stuff. The Python scripts, yeah, definitely that's much more of an advanced one will, but if you've got that skill set, gosh, the power to you. That there's really opens up so many doors. Oh, I love it. I'm also pretty excited for those Salesforce actions in Tableau. I think that's going to be really close the loop on an end-to-end analytics experience rather than jumping in and out. So that's also exciting as well. Cool. Anyone else? Also, I always like to, well, we're not done yet. I also like to always point people to our coming soon page. I'll put this link in the chat as well. Anything we talked about today, or maybe didn't get a chance to talk about, or it wasn't really highlighted at TC, you can always come to our product page and see what else we have cooking in the next release. So some things, I'm trying to see, what did we not cover today? We covered a lot of the big things, but if anyone sees something here that we didn't talk about, please do let me know. Again, this release is going to drop very, very soon. But for cloud, Tableau Cloud only. So again, just be aware of that new upgrade cycle. If you notice, I go to server, we don't get anything, but desktop, Tableau Cloud, we're staying on that quarterly cadence. And I will put that in the chat. Question Alex had about the data orientation page. Put that up so we all know what we're talking about. How does that work with replacing data catalog interface? I do not know yet. This is so, I only got the preview that everyone else got at TC. So I'm not sure what the implications are of data changing and whatnot, even interactions. Well, that remains to be seen, but hopefully that's a consideration they thought about with interactions. Okay, well, Alex, I think that I don't see any more questions or comments, so I think we may be ready for your session, and then I'll come back for Iron Biz once we go over future state of this tug.
Sounds good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'll go ahead, I'll stop sharing.
So first of all, thanks, Jess, for that overview so far. There's a lot of really cool stuff in this release, I think. I'm excited about Model Builder personally, but even, data stories is cool. The data orientation thing is really interesting to me as well. I am curious how that will, because some of that stuff would be in a data catalog. So I'm curious how that's going to work together. But like you said, we'll find out more later, right?
Definitely.
This one question, the Salesforce actions, was that the part that's coming future, or any external service coming in the future? I assume that is, but.
So the Salesforce actions in Tableau is, I'm just going to say it's on the roadmap. What was the other one you were referring to? The external services, the R and Python? Well,
on that slide, it said one-click execution of any action in any external service. I figured that was future, but I didn't know if Salesforce was as well.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, these extensions, if you have the coding skill set in-house, the world's really your oyster to build, really whatever your team needs. But our first pass of that integration is we're going to make it more out of the box with Salesforce.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will take the screen from you momentarily here and see here. Move this over here. All right, you can see my TC22 slides, I assume.
I can see.
All right. So I picked a couple of the photos from the gallery because I just like the gnome. To take 2 pills and call me in the morning is very The Matrix, but so that was kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is put this link in the chat, and then for those of us who are here, let's do it. I'm going to go as well and start the poll. And let's see. I think if I do this, I'll be able to share it. Yeah, so what I wanted to do was, future of the tug. So this meeting really got, I think, hosed, honestly, with the way the links worked and didn't work. And I'm sorry to everyone who isn't here, and even to those of you who had to maybe go through a little extra work to get here. I'm glad you're here. This is going to be a small amount of people in this particular meeting, but even without this having happened, I think this is a good thing for any tug to do on a somewhat regular basis anyways. But I definitely want to see, what people want, and I'm going to do this poll outside of this meeting as well. But since we're here live, we'll do the poll here live, and then we'll also, see, we've got 10 people in here. So everyone other than Jess and Kelly should be voting. I will vote as well, if I can. Let me see, here's the voting link. I will do it as well. How often? I'll say bi-monthly, but honestly, it could be either. So 7, 8, all right, so we have everyone already voted for this one. So I'm gonna actually, I'm screenshotting all this to save my outputs just to make sure, because I don't know how this system will work. So bi-monthly is what I'm seeing there. We're gonna talk about content too, so I'm gonna go ahead to the next question. What type of content would you like, right? I'm going to do mine. You can multi-select here. So I kind of want to see what people are interested in, right? Like what kinds of things do you want to see? And if there's something I missed on here, you can actually go off mute since we have a small enough group, or put it in the chat. All right, so we have 8 participants, so I think we're good. I'm going to take a screenshot of this as well. And I've done this before. Maybe some of you have been to these meetings. I haven't done it for maybe a year, but I've done this before. So tips and tricks, best practices, obviously people would be interested. But, it's interesting to see like third-party bolt-on tools, customer success, roundtable, nobody, very few are interested, right? We will see. I'm also going to do this poll to the LinkedIn group. The LinkedIn group has like 500 people in it. Not everyone's as invested as the people who show up to meetings, but we should get more votes as well. So I'm curious what they have to say. Since we're a small enough group, I'm going to say go ahead and go off mute if you like. And I will pause for a moment and say, is there anything not listed here that you'd like to see in meetings as well that I didn't post as an option, as a category? So
I think you covered everything.
Okay, I was going to say if anyone thinks of something later, feel free to email me, and that's fine. But we'll move on for now. See next. Right, where do you want tug meetings? You've showed up here, so clearly you're up for both, or you're up for online at least. These used to only be in person, right? Pre-pandemic. But wanted to see how much interest there is in person going forwards, right? In person, we can feed you, we can give you prizes a little easier, things like that. But online is more convenient. We've got 6 participants, got a couple people who aren't sure yet. We'll give them a second. All right, there we go. There's 8, that works. So given you've showed up online, I'm not surprised that you're up for online or possibly both. Only in person, well, you wouldn't be here, right? If that were the case. So I'm not surprised by that. But I see like half of you are up for both. So maybe half people, and that sounds about right to me as well. Let me just check the chat really quick. Change me to both. Okay, good to know. I'm going to go to the next question. Oh, unfortunately, I made this question a select one only. Let me see if I can modify that really quick. I don't think I can. What is this? What type of speakers? Multiple choice. I don't think that I can. Okay, yeah, it did update it. Wonderful. Okay, so now you can go back, perhaps. Let me see if I've already voted. Yeah, you can't really go back. Let me see if I can reset vote on that one. Reset results. Sure. And I'm going to, what type of speaker? So we're going to start at this question again because some people submitted while it was still a select one only. All right. Got that. Obviously, and I should say obviously, but I would fully expect that people would want to hear from Tableau. But, you know, good to know how many people are interested in what other kinds of speakers as well. Let's see here, cockpit. Let's go to the next question. You know what? I'm looking at this one too. Let me make this a multi-select. I'll reset it. Let's see, what time of day, multi. All right. Oops, wrong one. What time of day? Okay, let's redo this one. All right, so our big winner is 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., which is not too far off from what we're doing right now, but good to know. There are some groups that do things after work or happy hour kind of thing. Personally, for me, you know, just having a family and other things, that's more difficult. So I do prefer during the day. Seems like most people are in the same boat in terms of preference, at least in this group, and we'll see what the bigger group says as well. Let's see, what time of day? Okay, so that was the last of those questions. So I'm going to out of that. Right. The other thing I will say is, right, you want to help spread the Viz love, right? So the TUG steering committee. So I'm a member. There were two other members in there. One of them has officially told me that, you know, they're no longer able to be invested in working with the group. Another one just isn't responding at all, so they're also not invested in continuing to work with the group. So I am going to be looking for new people to be involved. So I'm going to put out a link on the LinkedIn as well. But if you're interested, definitely let me know. There's my, oh gosh, that's not my email address anymore. Let's use this one. Oh, sorry. I'm going to put this in the chat. Yeah, that works. So if you're interested in getting involved, you know, just even speaking once is fine. But if you're interested in, you know, being more heavily involved in finding content and speaking at the user group or helping run it and stuff like that, definitely let me know. I am going to definitely be looking for one or two more people to be involved with me because, you know, it's good to, one, have a backup, two, it's a lot of work to do for one person all the time, and other people might also be interested, right, in being involved like that. I think it's great. The poll that we did live here, I will also do, like I said, in the LinkedIn to try and get some more votes. But you know what I saw from in here, what I saw in here was, you know, bi-monthly was the big winner in the small group. Content, tips, tricks, demos, not really the other stuff so much. We'll see if it comes out differently elsewhere. Online or both, you know, purely in person. You know, again, this is kind of a biased set since this is an online user group right now. But, you know, we'll see how the other voting comes out on LinkedIn as well. But my guess is going forward, just like offices these days, everything's going more hybrid. We'll probably do more of that. What type of speakers? Definitely we'll have the wonderful Jess as much as we can get her and other Tableau people. And, you know, then we'll see what else the larger community is interested in. You know, customers got the next highest vote. That makes sense. I think having actual implementations by ourselves, the members of the community, is a great thing to hear about. 10 to 12 was the big winner. You know what I didn't ask is what day of week. We have a small enough group that I could do it just direct that way, but let's cockpit. I'm going to add it here. What day of week? Let's say Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Monday. I guess we could do all of them. Single choice. Let's say poll, results, start, blah, 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 blah. What day of week? Okay. You know what? And I'm gonna update myself again and say, oh, it is multiple choice. Okay. On my poll, it looks like it's single choice, but let's say multiple choice. We have 6 participants. I'll take it. We won't keep it waiting. All right, Thursday's the big winner. That's when I like to have them as well. Friday got 1 vote and nobody else got any. So that is consistent with what I've seen all the time. It's only letting you select one. That's interesting because I thought it said multi-choice too. It did say multi-choice. I'm going to save the poll, reset results. Stop. Vote. Here we are. Interesting. Reset results. Yes. Okay. Now it's doing the multi-select. So we could try again. See if people have multiple votes that they're good with. All right, I think that's the same 6 participants, so I'll stop there. So once we added a second day, guess what? Wednesday came in there, right? And that's kind of what I was expecting. So Wednesday, Thursday are our big winners. That's what I've always seen in the past as well. Nobody wants these on Mondays. In general, no one wants to have them on Fridays from what I've seen in the past too, so no big surprise. Let me go back to this. Right, so yeah, I think that's it. And particularly what I would also be interested in is if you're interested in being on the steering committee and being involved on a regular basis, that's fantastic. If you're not, that's okay. But if you have ideas for us, like I said, go ahead and email me. I put it my email in the chat on different things to do, right? Different approaches, anything, right? We want to make this usable and useful for everyone, and we want to make it engaging and interesting. So whatever people think is interesting, anytime you think of something, you can email me. If you forgot my email, just go on LinkedIn. You can find it there as well. So I'd love to hear any input. And with that, let me check the chat again. Thursday is impossible. Okay. Well, you know, we'll see what the larger poll comes back with. We've got 500 people in the LinkedIn. If we get, you know, let's say 100 votes out of there, that would be great, and we'll see where things fall. I've run user groups for 15 years, and in general, Thursday seems to be the big winner, usually. So I will say sorry to Susan if that's the way it works out. If it works out that everyone likes Wednesdays just as much, or you know, a different day, then you know we'll see what it is. But we'll try and make everyone as happy as we can. We also do record these, so if you can't attend, I always post out the link to the recording after, so we'll do that too. So with that, I will stop with that. If anyone wants to say anything now, you can, and I'll pause for a few seconds, and then after that, we'll go on to Jess again. Any comments for the moment, or save them for later? Okay, then let's move on to Jess for now for Iron Viz, and then we'll talk about the future of the TUG after I post the poll on the LinkedIn, and that'll be coming soon. We'll make changes in time for the next TUG. I will say that. So the next TUG will be the Q3 one, so that'll be probably the very beginning of September. And whatever comes out of the poll, we'll try and implement some of those changes for that next TUG coming up in a few months. Jess, you want to take it away?
Yep, I will go ahead and share my screen. All right, so we are going to move on to Iron Viz, and we are going to declare our own winner today. So just to introduce what Iron Viz is, in case you don't know about it, this is one of the most popular things at Tableau Conference, where 3 contestants live in front of the audience have 20 minutes to build their visualization, their dashboard, and then they tell a story about their findings in the data. So hundreds of people submit to qualify, and only 3 people end up getting chosen, and there's always a theme. So The qualifying round theme was anything related to art, like visualizing the arts. And then the Iron Viz board picks the winners. And then a few weeks before conference, they get the data set. And this data set was global impact of education on a given region's demographics. So they'll have time to work with the data. So it's not like they're up there for the first time looking at it. So what the Iron Vizers do is they come up with their dashboard, their story ahead of time. And then when they're live on stage, they're basically speed building everything, but under so much pressure. It's quite something to see, because we'll switch screens. So you'll see like where one person is in their build, and we'll have narration. It's a whole production. I'd love to know if anyone watched it this year, then you're going to know the winner. Don't tell anyone, so we're going to vote. But then we vote on designs. So visually, how does it look? Is it aesthetically pleasing? Analysis. How deep do they go into the data to derive some value there, some story? And then how do they tell that story? Do they really give it a nice narrative and do a good job really showing off their dashboard and their findings? And then the winner, they get $10,000, $5,000 to donate, and then of course major bragging rights. If you're an Iron Viz winner in the Tableau community, it's a pretty big deal. It's a big honor. So there's a lot of emphasis on this event. So our three finalists this year were Will and CJ, both from London, and then Kimley from Australia. It's funny, I feel like last year there was like at least one person from London as well. I feel like we always have like a lot of London representation. And what I will do is I am going to walk through each dashboard, but I will say that I cannot do these people justice with their own work. So I will do my best. Each person has about 5 or 10 minutes to explain their viz. I'll probably take about a couple minutes, but you'll get a pretty good idea about what each viz is. So let me actually zoom out, because this one's a little bit big so you can see it all. And again, remembering what the theme was about demographics and diving into that type of data. So what CJ did here is he focused on Africa, and that it's a misconception that Africa is not developing and not developed, especially South Africa. And what he did here is he visualized, actually I think it's a touch bigger, it's a little too small. And what he did really well is he used some very advanced analytics that I can really appreciate. So he used a violin chart to help show that. So Africa has an 18% increase in average life expectancy from year over year, which is pretty high. And you also see that pooling, that concentration of life expectancy. So yes, it is as a whole lower, but you start to see some, upticks in those upper ranges matching Americas and Europe. And then what I love, which is really just, I don't even know how he did this, but he made this map. And apparently this map required trigonometry to build, where he mapped out each country. And then he also showed the change in literacy rate, whether it was increasing or decreasing. So you can see the current increasing and decreasing. So we have a lot of, I see some green, so that's great, increasing literacy rates. And he pulled out a statistic that I thought was really interesting, that 13 countries in Africa out of 54 have a higher literacy rate than the global average of 82%. And South Africa in particular has a global average literacy rate, or their specific literacy rate is 94%. Yeah, which is really high. So what he aimed to do in this dashboard was really dispel some of these misconceptions about Africa, and that it's, some people I think it's not developing or not nearly as developed as other continents. And he displayed that in a really, really visually pleasing format. I can appreciate his advanced visual types. Again, to be able to build a violin chart and this map in 20 minutes is really something. I truly don't know how he did it. So that is, let's remember who we're talking about. That is CJ Mize from London. Let's move on and talk about our next contestant. And this is Kimley. So what Kimley did in her Iron Viz, try to get that WebEx utility out of my way. It's annoying. So what she did is her story was really what stood out to me. So she told a story about being a Cambodian refugee who settled in Australia. And that was her narrative throughout her demo of her dashboard, was coming from a war-torn country. How does that impact literacy rates, education, life expectancy? So right off the bat, we can see, and I'm going to jump to the dashboard so we can see it better. Get this annoying thing out of my way. Sorry, guys, about the Zoom being at the top. Let's see if I can hide it. I'll put it over here. Sorry, does not want to go over there. I'll put it down here. Okay, we'll just have to live with it up here. Sorry. Okay, so what Kimley did, I'll zoom back in, is she compared the two countries, where she's from, Cambodia, and where she now lives, Australia. So just alone right here, we can see 99% literacy rate versus 73%. And then she had some nice collapsing containers to really start telling that story. Like, what's the government expenditure on education? You know, clearly Australia, significantly more than Cambodia. And what else does that mean? What's the access to education? You know, obviously Australia spends significantly more time in school than someone in Cambodia. So what impact does that have? And we see life expectancy is clearly higher, 82 years versus 68 years, roughly. But what's interesting here, you see the inverse. We see fertility rates higher than Australia. And, you know, a lot of that comes back to education, having large families that then, you know, don't get as well of an education as a country like Australia. So then she ends with, you know, how important education is and closing that global education gap, and that if she didn't come to Australia, where they have the education rates and the literacy rates, would she even be on this stage today? And the answer is probably not, which is a really powerful moment. I think there might have even been some tears shed. It was a very impactful story. So that is Kimley coming out of Australia. And next, we have Will from London. So let's take a look at Will's. Now, what Will did is he focused on closing the literacy gap. So looking back in the last 20 years, how much has this changed? And I'm going to actually zoom out. This is a little bit bigger as well. What Will did is he actually made a series of, something like maybe 6 or 7 dashboards, and he used animations really effectively. Now, you're going to see me move through a few dashboards here. I'm so impressed that he was able to build all this in 20 minutes. Again, I truly don't know how he did it, but he starts with, well, let's first think about what was going on in 2002. Only 10% of the world had internet, you know, dealing with 9/11, some pop culture, Harry Potter, Chamber of Secrets had just came out, just to give us a reference point. And then what were the literacy rates? So I'll kind of focus on this illiterate rate, 13 out of 100. And then he goes down and breaks this down by gender. So you see these really nice, smooth animations happening, which I really appreciate. 1 in 6 women illiterate in 2002. Well, what happens in, where are we? I think we're in 2012 now. I'm sorry, going too fast. Let me go back. Let's go back here. So now we are looking at 2012. So we went from 1 to 6 women illiterate, 1 to 8 women illiterate, now 4 out of 6 total illiterate. Okay, let's keep going. And then he flushes this out to individual stories about the impact of increasing literacy. So he takes, you know, 3 personal kind of vignettes in 3 developing countries like India. Well, what does that mean? Well, now GDP is boosted significantly, especially amongst young women, double GDP in the last 10 years. In Zambia, now we have more education around HIV and people are living longer. So life expectancy rose 10 years since 2002. In Nepal, with the increase in education and family planning, People are having less children. They went from 4 kids to 2 kids, much less likely to be engaged in a child marriage or get an education. So we start to see that, literacy rate trickles down to other areas. And then we come back to what happens in 2020, where now our global literacy rate and illiteracy rate, should I say, is now 1 in 12. So if you remember where we started, 1 in 6, we've really cut that in half in the last 20 years, which is, really significant. I would never have realized that. And you also have to think about, if you get an Excel file of data to kind of come to these conclusions, how much work that was and how insightful this all is. And then to close it all out, now pay special attention here because the animations are really, really well done. He ends with this dashboard. You'll notice that view flushes out, fades to the top, and then we look at a dashboard that's focused on ending illiteracy in 2022 and focusing on a few select countries and how that impacts, again, economic output, life expectancy, where we have the most improvements, Chad, Niger. It's really incredible that he built about a series of, like I said, maybe 8 or so visits here in 20 minutes, getting those animations right, really blew my mind. So that is Will Sutton out of London. So now let's go back to our biz. Now let's vote. Now, Alex, I think we should pull up maybe your vote so it's easier. I don't know. What do you think?
I have a simple, pick your person kind of thing. But
okay, I have one too.
I don't know. This is great.
Okay, I'll leave it here then because I didn't want people jumping in and out. So let's go ahead, go to that poll again. Just go to menti.com/4738-1604. And thanks for voting, guys. That was the old one. Who do you think is the winner? And I'll go back over the business. So CJ, he was the first one, misconceptions in Africa. Kimberly, she was the Cambodian Australian refugee story. Will, he would focus on closing that literacy gap. So I'll come back to this poll, but I'll just kind of run through those so we can see them again. So we have CJ, violin chart, trigonometry map, super impressive. And then we had Kimberly. She had a great story. Again, very impactful story. I can't do it justice, but hopefully you got the gist. And then Will, who his design and animations and story was also really, really impressive. So again, think about the analysis, the design, and the storytelling.
Can't we just award them all? Can't
I
they all
know. That's how I felt. I felt when I was watching it, I was like, gosh, they're all so good.
They're amazing because I was like, wow, how did you even do all this? So, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is unbelievable how they do it. And it's like, it's like even the smallest little error that could go wrong and they still execute. It's really something. Okay, got a couple votes. I know we're kind of well into the meeting. Some people had to drop off, totally understandable, but I think we should unveil who won Iron Biz and who won the Chicago Iron Biz. I think it's safe to say Will won our poll. Now, who won live in person at TC? Let's see. Let me just jump through this again. And well, our winner was Will. I never had a chance to pop through there. Will also won at TC. So we were aligned there. So thanks for voting, everyone. It's funny, when we did this in November, we had the same results, the same Iron Biz winner won our poll as well. So we are definitely in sync there. Let me check the chat, see if anyone has anything to say. Okay, I did want to mention as well, I put this in the chat, that we have a community booster meeting coming up. I know we're going to talk about this again when Alex closes us out, but I did want to point this out. So we have this new kind of booster. It's like a little bit of like a special community, really focused on people who kind of want to upskill, maybe new to the community. It's going to be on Friday the 24th. And I will drop that link in the chat once more. I know I put it in earlier. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions about, meetings or Iron Biz. I didn't see anything in the chat, but I appreciate the votes. It's always fun to see what people can do. It's a fan favorite here as well. Oh, thanks, Alex. So you just popped it into the chat as well.
Yep.
Fridays are so hard, especially in the summer. So it's going to be,
Yeah.
I know I've got a bike
Friday
ride that
afternoon
weekend,
in the
so
summer.
yeah.
That's never a good time for a meeting for anything, honestly, in my mind.
Yeah.
I agree.
I've usually checked out by lunchtime on Friday, so don't tell my boss though.
You're not alone there, Kelly. Great, Alex, do you want to take the ball back?
Sure.
Or any more questions about Iron Biz, TC? We definitely have time if anyone has anything else they want to see there or talk about.
The community booster, what more is going on in that meeting?
I wonder if Kelly is still here. So I just found out about this at the top of the meeting. So give me a second to read the page. What we are going to do is it's going to bring together leaders from the various other tugs. And they're going to talk about, let's see here, I guess just some highlights, things that went over well. Let's see. Kind of another just opportunity, it looks like, to network more widely. So that should be interesting. I can find out more though, because I'm not entirely positive what's going to be different here, but it's going to be led by these handful of people. I'm not sure if you recognize any of these names. I don't believe I recognize anyone here, but it should be a good gathering. It should be a bigger group and just another place where people can get to know each other, hear about what's working well, knowledge share. So it should be interesting. And then it's going to be Friday. Cool. Anything else? Okay.
That sounds like
Chevy asked
like,
a question actually before we turn over, Alex, about are there any Slack groups he could just ask questions on the fly, things like that. So my suggestion there would be, we don't have like a global just open Slack channel. Our community forums are really good for asking questions. I actually reference those community forums all the time. Like I get stumped all the time by questions. And I'll just Google it and I'll see like Zen masters jumping in, Tableau employees jumping in to ask questions. Also getting in touch with your account team if you know who they are. People like myself, we're always happy to jump in and help you out. Well, that's a good idea to just think about maybe a more interactive forum besides the community threads.
Can you maybe share the community link again, or
yeah,
give
me a sec. Let me pull it up because I have to. So, share my screen again. Okay, so the community, it's a few things. So Alex was actually sharing one part of the community, which was earlier when he was showing where to find the tug. So it's under resources. You're gonna see community. You're gonna see a few links. So Tableau Public, love it. That's a great resource. But for specific questions, I would suggest coming to the forum, which is that last link here. You say, hey, if you have a question, we try to guide you, like what kind of question, is it a calculation question or is it a server question? We also have our discussions here as well, which is similar. I'll get to the more guided in a minute, but you can just simply ask the question. I like to log it. And this also, okay, we're not going to go through that right now, but it will surface the questions that people ask. And what's also nice is you don't necessarily have to even like come to community. Like I mentioned, if you just Google questions, I mean, they'll come up in the community threads anyway. And you can even share workbooks with each other. So people will do that all the time. They'll be like, I have a question, this calculation's not working. And someone will be like, hey, send me the workbook, a TwibX, and then they'll like solve it and send it back. Obviously with safe data, but it is a very active community. That's one thing that I love about Tableau is it is so active and passionate, unlike any other software I've ever seen. So if you had a question like, let's see. And the ideas forum, I also love the ideas forum as well, if anyone's seen that. That's where we get a lot of product input. So a lot of the features you see displayed at Tableau conference, a lot of it is direct feedback that comes from here. And we do take it seriously. So like the most popular idea right now, let's see. I'll tell you what was one of the most historically popular ideas was dynamic parameters that had like thousands of votes. Stop changing filters and colors when replacing data source. Yes, I agree with that. That is a good one. So that's the community. So Tableau, and we just go to resources community forum. Yeah. All right.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Excellent. Oh, well, Will asked a good question. So let's say you were in the community and you wanted to ask a question on a workbook to get help, but you don't want to divulge your info.
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, so we have a few suggestions there. So one is obviously, can you take out the identifying data? Or can you replicate, or can you explain the question well enough that someone like myself could replicate it with data like Superstore? That's the dummy data that comes up in Tableau. Because we definitely would not want like PHI data coming in. So you can mask it. You can alias, rehash the fields. There's a couple methods there, but typically creating it with dummy data is the best way to do it. And Superstore is our go-to for that typically. But sometimes you can explain the question enough and we can get a gist and send you a solution with dummy data. And sometimes you don't even need to send us your data. It really depends on the complexity. But yeah, so we have people like dummy data generators. We have like Mockaroo is a really popular one we use internally. You need to find
Yeah, thank you for that. Do you have any like websites or tools that I guess generate dummy data or randomizer?
Yeah, so that Mockaroo is probably the most popular. We use, I know there's a couple other ones. We have some internal tools that are accessible, but that one is free and easy. I use that one the most. That would be my top suggestion.
I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's useful for me as well. That's a cool idea. All right. Then I'm going to move on, and there's not a lot more to talk about. I just wanted to reiterate a couple things. One is thanks for those of you who made it here. Thanks for coming and for voting and participating. I will be posting this week a link to, I'm sorry, this is Friday, so I will probably post on Monday evening or Tuesday morning because Friday is a dead zone for posting anything. It's not a good time. People won't read it. But so probably Monday or Tuesday, I will post the same kind of poll that you guys took online live in this meeting. I will post it to the LinkedIn to get that larger audience, right? And get them to give feedback into what we want to do going forwards, what days, what times, what kind of content, and then also a call for people to be involved. And we will get that going for the next quarter. So the next quarter, Q3 is July, August, September. Given summer break and vacations and start of school and things like that, we will probably do it right after Labor Day, sometime right after Labor Day. I have to work with, the meeting organizers at Tableau to figure out, a date and time that I can get it to work. But we'll hopefully take into account what we see in the polls as well. And that's kind of the plan there. So thanks for coming, and please stay involved. Thanks for being here, and thanks, Jess, for presenting and helping out a lot.